The alarm rang through the medical station like a scream. Daeho dropped his coffee and ran. His boots hit the metal floor hard as he sprinted down the corridor. Other doctors and nurses moved past him, all heading to the docking bay. What happened? Daeho shouted to a passing nurse. Ship crash. One survivor, hurry! Daeho reached the docking bay just as the damaged ship settled onto the platform. Smoke poured from its engines. The metal hull was torn in several places. Whatever had happened out there, it had been bad. Commander Somin stood near the entrance, her face tight with worry. Next to her was Dr. Velix, the insectoid doctor who specialized in emergency medicine. Velix's forearms moved quickly, preparing medical equipment. Status? Daeho asked. Unknown species, Somin said. Never seen before. The ship's distress call said the pilot was injured but alive. The ship's door hissed open. Steam rolled out. Daeho stepped forward, medical scanner in hand. He had studied hundreds of alien species during his career. He loved this part of his job, meeting new forms of life. A figure appeared in the doorway. Daeho stopped moving. His breath caught in his throat. The alien was beautiful. Its body was covered in scales that changed colors like oil on water. Purple shifted to green, then to gold. It stood on two legs, roughly humanoid in shape, but clearly reptilian. Its face was elegant, with large eyes that held an intelligence Daeho recognized immediately. The alien stumbled. It was hurt. Blood, or something like blood, dripped from a wound on its side. Daeho moved forward without thinking. Let me help you, he said. No. The alien's voice was sharp, filled with terror. It raised one hand, palm out. Don't touch me! Stay back! Daeho froze. It's okay. I'm a doctor. I can help. You don't understand. The alien's scales turned bright red, a color that Daeho guessed meant fear. Don't touch me. I'll kill you with one brush. One touch. That's all it takes, Daeho laughed. He couldn't help it. The translation must be wrong. What? The alien's legs gave out. It collapsed to its knees, breathing hard. My skin, my touch. It's poison. Deadly poison. I will kill you if you touch me. Please, stay away. Dr. Velix moved forward with a containment field generator. We need to get you to medical. We won't touch you, I promised. The alien nodded weakly. Velix activated the field and a blue glow surrounded the alien. The field lifted it gently into the air and carried it toward the medical bay. Daeho walked alongside, his mind racing. Is it serious? Daeho asked. The poison thing? The alien's eyes met his. Even through the pain, Daeho saw sadness there. Deep old sadness. Very serious. My people, the Veshkara, we cannot touch any living thing. Our skin produces a neurotoxin. It kills instantly. Every species we have met has died from contact with us. Every species? Daeho asked. Every single one. We tried. Many times, scientists, diplomats, all dead within seconds. The alien's voice broke. We are forever alone. They reached the medical bay. Velix guided the containment field into an isolation room. The walls were made of transparent material, allowing them to see in but keeping everyone safe. Medical robots moved inside the room, controlled from outside. They began treating the alien's wounds. Daeho stood at the window watching. Commander Somin came to stand beside him. Dr. Tay, she said, I'm assigning you to this case. You're our best xenobiologist. I want to study the toxin, Daeho said immediately. Absolutely not. Somin's voice was firm. This is too dangerous. We treat the injuries and send it on its way. But Commander... That's an order, Dr. Tay. Daeho bit his tongue. He watched as the medical robots finished their work. The alien, Rilnoth, it had said its name was, lay on the bed inside the isolation room. Its scales had turned a soft blue color. Sadness, Daeho thought. Or maybe loneliness. Later that night, Daeho sat in his quarters reading everything he could find about toxins. His friend Yuna called him on the comm. You're obsessing again, she said. Her face appeared on the screen, smiling. There's an alien on the station that can kill with a touch, Daeho said. I'm not obsessing. I'm researching, Yuna sighed. She was a biochemist, one of the smartest people Daeho knew. Somin told me about it. She also told me you're not allowed to study it. I'm not studying it. I'm just reading, Daeho. What if we could fix it, Yuna? What if we could find a way to neutralize the toxin? Think about what that would mean for the Veshkara. They could finally touch someone. They could finally not be alone. Yuna was quiet for a moment. You have that look, she said. What look? The look you get when you're about to do something stupid and brilliant at the same time. Daeho grinned. I just want to talk to it. To Rilnoth. Learn more about the toxin. Is that so wrong? Soman will kill you. Only if she finds out. The next morning, Deho went to the isolation room early. Rilnoth was awake, standing at the window looking out at the stars beyond the station. How are you feeling? Deho asked. Rilnoth turned. Its scales shifted to a soft green. Better, thank you. Your medical robots are very skilled. Can I ask you some questions? About your species? About the toxin? Rilnoth tilted its head. Why? So you can add us to your database of dangerous species to avoid? No, Deho said honestly. Because I want to help. I want to see if there's a way to make it safe. A way for you to touch others without killing them. Rilnoth's scales rippled through several colors rapidly. Surprised, Deho guessed. Maybe hope? Many have tried, Rilnoth said quietly. All have failed. The toxin is too strong, too fast. It attacks the nervous system immediately. There is no cure. No treatment. No species has ever survived contact with a Veshkara. Maybe they just haven't tried hard enough, Deho said. Maybe they haven't met humans yet. Rilnoth stared at him. You are either very brave or very foolish. Deho laughed. My species has been called both, usually at the same time. For the first time since arriving, Rilnoth's scales turned a warm gold color. Deho didn't know what it meant, but it felt like maybe, just maybe, it was the color of hope. Deho convinced Commander Soman to let him study the toxin. It took 3 days of arguing, reports, and promises to follow every safety protocol. Finally, she agreed, but only if he worked in the maximum containment lab. The lab was built for the most dangerous research. Triple-sealed doors, air filtration systems, robot arms for handling dangerous materials. Everything Deho touched inside the lab would be controlled from outside the sealed room. Yuna joined him on the second day. She stood outside the lab looking at the screens showing chemical analysis of the Veshkara toxin. This is incredible, she whispered, and terrifying. The toxin was a protein complex unlike anything in the galactic database. It didn't just attack cells. It shut down the entire nervous system. When it touched living tissue, it spread through neural pathways like lightning. Death came in seconds, sometimes faster. I've tested it on samples from 40 different species, Yuna said, pulling up the data. Every single one died. The longest survival time was 8 seconds. That was a Thelian. They have redundant nervous systems. What about humans? Deho asked. Yuna looked at him. You want me to test it on human cells? Yes, she sighed but started the process. Deho watched through the window as robot arms placed a sample of human tissue into a containment dish. A single drop of diluted toxin touched the sample. The cells began to die immediately. But something was different. The human cells fought back. They didn't fight well and they didn't win, but they fought. 11.7 seconds, Yuna said, staring at her screen. Human cells lasted 11.7 seconds before complete death. That's almost 4 seconds longer than any other species, Deho said. That's still death. Deho. Just slower death, but Deho was smiling. It's resistance. Small resistance, but it's there. Why? What makes human cells different? They spent the next week researching. Deho barely slept. He read everything about human evolution, human biology, human history. Yuna ran test after test, trying to understand what made human cells slightly more resistant. Dr. Jin Taewan, the chief medical officer, visited the lab. He was an older man with gray hair and sharp eyes. He had been a combat medic before becoming a station doctor. You're making people nervous, Taewan said. Ambassador Thex wants the Veshkara removed from the station. He says it's too dangerous. The Veshkara has a name, Deho said. Rilnoth. And Rilnoth isn't dangerous if we follow safety protocols. The ambassador doesn't care. He wants it gone within the week. Deho felt anger rise in his chest. You mean him? Rilnoth is a person, not an it. Taewan smiled slightly. I agree with you. That's why I'm giving you 1 week to find something useful. Something that proves Rilnoth should stay. Can you do that? I'll try. Deho worked harder. He brought in Dr. Nari Huang, a human immunologist who specialized in extreme environments. Nari was brilliant and fearless. She listened to Deho's theories and immediately started her own research. Earth was a death world, Nari said one night. They were all exhausted, running on coffee and determination. Compared to most habitable planets, Earth was hostile. Diseases, predators, poisonous plants, venomous animals. Humans evolved to survive all of it. Other species evolved in cleaner environments, Yuna added. The galaxy considers Earth abnormally dangerous. Most spacefaring races came from worlds with very few natural toxins. Deho paced the lab. So human immune systems are more aggressive. Human livers are better at processing toxins. Human bodies are built to fight poison because our planet was full of it. Exactly, Nari said. We're not tougher than other species. We're just more stubborn about refusing to die. Deho laughed. It was true. Humans had a reputation in the galaxy. They were the species that survived things they shouldn't survive. They healed from injuries that would kill others. They ate foods that other species considered toxic. They lived in environments that were too hot, too cold, too dangerous. What if we could use that? Deho said. What if we could train the human immune system to fight the Veshkara toxin? Yuna shook her head. The toxin is too fast, too deadly. Even if the immune system could eventually fight it, the person would be dead before it had a chance. What about gradual exposure? Nari asked. Like what ancient humans did with venomous snakes. Small doses over time. Let the body learn to recognize and fight the toxin. That would take years, Yuna said. Maybe decades. And it might not work at all. But it's a chance, Deho said. He went to see Rilnoth that evening. The Veshkara was reading in the isolation room. Books floated in the air, projected as holograms. Rilnoth could turn pages by voice command since touching the physical books would destroy them. You look tired, Rilnoth said when Deho approached the window. I've been researching. Your toxin, ways to possibly neutralize it or build immunity to it. Rilnoth's scales shifted to a sad blue. Many have tried. None have succeeded. None of them were human. What makes humans so special? Deho sat down on the floor outside the window. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day. Poisonous plants, venomous animals, deadly diseases. We survived by being too stubborn to die. Our bodies learned to fight toxins that would kill other species. Your cells died too, Rilnoth said softly. Just slower, but they fought. That's more than any other species has done. That means there's a chance. Maybe a small chance, but a chance. Rilnoth was quiet for a long time. Then the alien moved closer to the window. Its scales turned a color Deho hadn't seen before. Purple mixed with gold. Do you know what it's like? Rilnoth asked. To be born into a species that can never touch another living being? I have never felt the comfort of contact. Never embraced a friend. Never held anyone's hand. People communicate through screens and distance. We are advanced. We are intelligent. But we are so terribly alone. Deho felt his heart break a little. That's why I want to help. Not for science. Not for research. Because no one should have to live like that. It's impossible, Rilnoth said. Humans are good at impossible things, Deho replied. Let me try, please. Rilnoth looked at him for a long moment. Then the alien's scales shifted to that warm gold color again. Hope. What do you need from me? Rilnoth asked. More samples of the toxin, information about Veshkara biology, and permission to attempt something very dangerous and very stupid. What? Deho smiled. I want to test controlled exposure on myself. Tiny amounts. See if my body can learn to fight it. That will kill you. Maybe. Or maybe I'm stubborn enough to survive. Either way, we'll learn something. Rilnoth stared at him like he was insane. Maybe he was. But Deho had seen the loneliness in Rilnoth's eyes. He had heard the sadness in that voice. If there was even the smallest chance he could help, he had to try. That was the human way. Commander Somin said no. She said it loudly and clearly in her office while Deho stood in front of her desk like a student being scolded. Absolutely not, she said. I will not authorize you poisoning yourself. This discussion is over. Commander, please listen. No, Dr. Tay, you listen. You are a valuable member of this station. I will not watch you kill yourself for an experiment that will probably fail. Deho left her office angry and frustrated. But he didn't give up. He never gave up. That night, he sat with Yuna and Nari in the station's cafeteria. The room was mostly empty. A few night shift workers sat at distant tables, too tired to pay attention to anyone else. She said no, Deho told them. Good, Yuna said, because it's a terrible idea. It's the only idea we have. Nari stirred her coffee slowly. What if we don't ask permission? Both Deho and Yuna looked at her. I'm serious, Nari said. We have the toxin samples. We have the containment lab. We have all the medical equipment we need. We could run the test ourselves. That's against regulations, Yuna said. We could lose our jobs. Or worse. But it might work, Nari said. Deho thought about Rilnoth, about the loneliness, about a whole species that lived their lives without ever touching another living being. He thought about the gold color in Rilnoth's scales. Hope. If I die, you both say I forced you, Deho said. You tried to stop me, but I did it anyway. Deho, Yuna started. I'm doing this, he said firmly. With or without your help. But I'd really like to have my friends there when I do. Yuna looked at Nari. Nari looked back. They both sighed at the same time. You're an idiot, Yuna said, I know. When? Nari asked. Tomorrow night. After the shift change. Fewer people around. They planned everything carefully. The containment lab would be sealed. Yuna and Nari would monitor from outside, ready to activate emergency medical protocols. They prepared antitoxins, stimulants, and every medical treatment they could think of. It probably wouldn't be enough, but they had to try. Deho visited Rilnoth before the test. He didn't tell the Veshkara what he was about to do. He didn't want Rilnoth to feel responsible if things went wrong. You seem nervous, Rilnoth said. Big day tomorrow, Deho said. Lots of research to review. Rilnoth's scales shifted through colors. Reading the alien's emotions was getting easier. Right now, Rilnoth was showing concern mixed with curiosity. You are a strange human. Dr. Tay. Just Deho is fine. You are a strange human. Deho. You look at me like I am someone worth saving. Most species look at me like I am a weapon, a thing to be feared and avoided. You're not a weapon, Deho said. You're just someone who needs help. And I'm someone who is too stubborn to give up on people. The next night came too quickly. Deho stood in the containment lab, dressed in a medical gown. Sensors covered his body, monitoring his heart rate, brain activity, and every other vital sign. Outside the sealed room, Yuna and Nari watched the screens with worried faces. Last chance to back out, Yuna's voice came through the speaker. Not backing out, Deho said. His hands were shaking slightly. He wasn't afraid of dying. He had faced death before. But he was afraid of failing. Afraid that this wouldn't work and Rilnoth would remain forever untouchable. Starting the test, Nari said. The toxin is diluted to 0.01% concentration. That's 1/100th of the normal strength. A robot arm moved forward. In its grip was a tiny applicator, barely visible. One single drop of toxin hung at its tip. Ready? Yuna asked. Deho held out his left hand. Do it, the applicator touched his palm. A tiny spot smaller than a pinprick. The toxin entered his skin. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the pain hit. It felt like fire spreading up his arm. His nervous system screamed. Every nerve ending lit up with agony. Deho's vision blurred. His legs went weak. He heard alarms blaring, heard Yuna shouting medical commands, heard Nari activating emergency protocols, but he didn't fall. His body fought back. Deho felt his immune system kick in like a war machine. His heart pounded, pumping blood faster. His liver worked overtime, trying to process the toxin. Every cell in his body went into combat mode. It hurt. Everything hurt. His temperature is spiking. Nari's voice sounded far away. Heart rate critical, Yuna added, but Deho stayed standing. His body shook. Sweat poured down his face, but he didn't collapse. Didn't die. 47 seconds later, his vitals began to stabilize. What? Yuna's voice was full of shock. How is he still standing? Deho fell to his knees, breathing hard. His whole body felt like it had been hit by a truck. But he was alive, conscious, aware. I'm okay, he gasped. I'm okay. You are definitely not okay, Yuna shouted. Medical robots, get in there now. The robots entered the sealed room. They scanned Deho, checking everything. His temperature was high. His heart rate was elevated. His nervous system showed signs of trauma. But he was alive, surviving. The toxin is still in his system, Nari said, reading the scans. But his body is processing it, breaking it down, slowly, but it's working. Deho lay on the medical bed they brought in. He felt terrible, sick and weak and shaking. But under the pain, he felt triumph. It had worked. Not perfectly, not comfortably, but it had worked. Never again, Yuna said, her voice tight with anger and relief. Promise me you will never do that again. Can't promise that, Deho said, smiling weakly. We need more tests. Need to see if I can build immunity. You nearly died. But I didn't, that's the important part. The door to the containment area suddenly opened. Commander Soman walked in, her face dark with fury. Behind her was Dr. Taywin and Ambassador Thex, a tall alien with gray skin and too many eyes. Dr. Tay, Soman said in a voice like ice. Would you like to explain why you conducted unauthorized testing in violation of direct orders? Deho sat up on the medical bed, still weak. I found proof that humans can survive Veshkara toxin. You found proof that you are reckless and dangerous, Ambassador Thex said. His multiple eyes all focused on Deho with disapproval. This experiment was foolish. You could have died. You could have contaminated the entire station. But he didn't, Dr. Taewin said quietly. He was looking at the medical readouts with interest. He survived. Against all probability, the human immune system actually fought off a neurotoxin that kills every other known species. One success means nothing, the ambassador said. This research must be terminated immediately. The Veshkara will be relocated to a quarantine planet and Dr. Tae will face disciplinary action. No, a new voice said. Everyone turned. Rilnoth stood in the doorway of the containment area, still inside a protective field. The Veshkara's scales were bright red with anger. I am not a problem to be relocated, Rilnoth said. I am a person, and Dr. Tae is the first being in my entire life who has treated me as such. He risked his life to give my people hope. If there is any chance, any possibility that we can join the galaxy as equals instead of as feared monsters, then this research must continue. The room went silent. Ambassador Thex looked uncomfortable. Commander Soman's expression softened slightly. This is dangerous, Soman said, but her voice was less angry now. Everything worth doing is dangerous, Deho said. Please give me a chance to prove this can work. Soman looked at him for a long moment. Then she sighed. 1 month. You have 1 month to show real progress, but no more unauthorized tests. Everything goes through proper channels. Understood? Understood. Ambassador Thex made a disgusted sound and left. Dr. Taewin smiled and nodded at Deho before following. Commander Soman gave Deho one last warning look and walked out. Only Rilnoth remained, watching through the containment field. Thank you, the Veshkara said softly. Don't thank me yet, Deho replied. We still have a lot of work to do. But for the first time in days he felt real hope. They could do this. They would do this. Because humans were too stubborn to accept that some problems couldn't be solved. The next 6 months were the hardest of Deho's life. Every 3 days he received another controlled dose of the toxin. Each time his body fought a little better. Each time the pain lasted a little less. Slowly, painfully, his immune system learned to recognize and destroy the Veshkara neurotoxin. Yuna and Nari monitored every second of the process. They took blood samples, ran scans, and mapped exactly how Deho's body was adapting. The data was incredible. Human immune cells were actually learning to attack the toxin molecules before they could damage the nervous system. Your liver enzyme production has increased by 40%, Nari said during one of the checkups. Your body is literally changing itself to fight this poison. Does it hurt? Yuna asked. She asked this question after every treatment. Yes, Deho said honestly, but less than before. It was true. The first exposure had felt like dying. The 10th exposure felt like a bad flu. By the 20th exposure, it was more like a headache. His body was winning the war. Rilnoth watched the progress from the isolation room. The Veshkara had become friends with the research team during the long months. They talked every day. Rilnoth told them about Veshkara culture, about growing up in a society where touch meant death. We have special suits, Rilnoth explained one day, completely sealed. They allow us to move among other species safely, but we can never remove them. Never feel sunlight on our skin. Never feel anything except the inside of our suits. That sounds lonely, Deho said. It is the only life we know, Rilnoth replied. But sometimes I wonder what it would be like. To feel rain, to touch grass, to hold someone's hand without killing them. Deho made a promise to himself that day. He would make it possible. No matter what it took, the breakthrough came during the 23rd treatment. Deho received a dose of toxin at 10% concentration, 10 times stronger than the first test. His body barely reacted, a slight fever. Minor discomfort, nothing more. He's developing immunity, Nari said, staring at the data in disbelief. Actual immunity. This shouldn't be possible, but it is, Yuna said. She was smiling. We need to document everything. Write a full research paper. The galaxy needs to know about this. Not yet, Deho said. We need to prove it works on other humans, too. I might just be lucky. We need more test subjects. Finding volunteers wasn't easy. Most people thought the experiment was insane, but finally 3 humans agreed to try. One was a young cultural liaison named Minho. The other 2 were security officers, Yunji and Bora, who had both served in high-risk assignments before. They began the same treatment protocol. Small doses increasing over time. All 3 had the same reaction Deho had experienced. Pain at first, then adaptation. Their bodies learned to fight the toxin just like his had. "It's not just you," Yuna said after the first successful round with the volunteers. "It's humans in general. Our evolutionary history, our aggressive immune systems, our stubborn biology. We can all develop immunity to the Veshkara toxin." Dr. Taewon visited the lab regularly to check the progress. He had supported the research from the beginning, even when the ambassador complained. "How long until someone can safely touch a Veshkara?" Taewon asked. "Based on current progress, another 3 months," Nari said. "We need to reach 100% immunity. Right now, Deho is at about 95%. The volunteers are at 70%. 3 months of more treatments, more pain, more adaptation. But everyone kept going. They all knew what they were working toward. They had all seen the hope in Rilnoth's eyes when the research showed success. Minho became especially dedicated. "I work in cultural exchange," that he explained to Deho one day after a treatment. "I've met hundreds of species, but the Veshkara are different. They're brilliant, kind, and completely isolated through no fault of their own. If we can fix that even a little, it's worth any amount of pain." The months passed. The research continued. Yuna developed supplemental treatments to boost the immune response. Nari created liver enhancement therapies that helped process the toxin faster. Together, they refined the protocol until it was as safe as they could make it. Ambassador Thex tried to shut down the research twice. Both times, Dr. Taewon blocked him. The second time, Commander Soman supported Taewon openly. "This research has value," Soman told the ambassador. "Not just for humans, but for the entire galaxy. The Veshkara deserve a chance to be part of our community." Finally, the day came. Deho's immunity was at 100%. Tests showed that he could safely touch a Veshkara without any risk. The toxin could no longer harm him. Yuna ran the final verification 3 times to be absolutely certain. "You're clear," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "The toxin has no effect on you at all. Your body destroys it immediately." Deho went to see Rilnoth. The Veshkara was reading again, floating books in the isolation room. When Rilnoth saw Deho approach, the alien scales shifted to that familiar gold color. "You succeeded," Rilnoth said. "It wasn't a question. Yes, I can safely touch you now. The toxin can't hurt me anymore." Rilnoth moved to the window. The alien scales rippled through colors so fast Deho couldn't identify them all. Joy, fear, hope, disbelief. "I have lived my entire life without touching another being," Rilnoth said quietly. "I don't know if I can. I don't know if I'm brave enough." "You don't have to be brave," Deho said. "You just have to be willing to try. Whenever you're ready. No pressure." Rilnoth was quiet for a long time. Then the Veshkara spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. "I'm ready. I want to try." They scheduled the contact for the next day. It would happen in a medical bay with full monitoring. Commander Somin insisted on being present. Dr. Taewon would oversee the medical aspects. Yuna and Nari would monitor Deho's vital signs. Even Ambassador Thex grudgingly agreed to attend, though he made it clear he expected disaster. That night, Deho couldn't sleep. He thought about everything that had led to this moment. The first meeting with Rilnoth. The research. The pain of the treatments. The slow building of immunity. All of it for one single moment. One touch. He wasn't nervous about the toxin. He trusted the science. He trusted his body's immunity. But he was nervous about what this meant. For Rilnoth. For the Veshkara species. For the future. Minho found him in the cafeteria at 2 in the morning. "Can't sleep either?" Minho asked, sitting down with a cup of tea. "Too much thinking," Deho admitted. "You know what you're giving Rilnoth tomorrow?" Minho asked. "You're giving hope to an entire species. You're proving that being Veshkara doesn't mean being forever alone. That's bigger than science. That's changing lives." Deho smiled. "No pressure, right?" "All the pressure in the galaxy," Minho said with a grin. "But you can handle it. You're human. We're good at handling impossible things." They sat together in comfortable silence, drinking tea and waiting for morning to come, waiting for the moment when everything would change. Outside the window, stars glittered in the endless dark. Somewhere out there were the Veshkara worlds, planets full of people who had never known touch, who had lived their entire existence in isolation. Tomorrow, that would begin to change. Tomorrow, one human would reach across the gap and prove that no one had to be alone forever. Tomorrow, Deho would touch Rilnoth, and nothing would ever be the same. The medical bay was crowded. Commander Soman stood near the back, her arms crossed but her expression softer than usual. Dr. Taewon checked the medical equipment one last time. Yuna and Nari sat at the monitoring station, watching screens full of data. Minho stood with Yunji and Bora, the other volunteers who had developed immunity. Even Ambassador Thex was there, though he looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. In the center of the room stood two figures, Deho and Rilnoth. For the first time since arriving at the station, Rilnoth stood outside the isolation room. No containment field, no protective barriers, just the Veshkara, free in open air, scales shifting through nervous colors. Your vitals are stable, Yuna said, checking Deho's readings. Immunity is holding at 100%. How do you feel? Dr. Taewon asked. Nervous, Deho admitted, but ready. He looked at Rilnoth. The alien stood a few feet away, trembling slightly. Rilnoth's scales were cycling through colors rapidly. Fear, hope, anticipation, terror. We don't have to do this now, Deho said gently. We can wait. There's no rush. I have waited my entire life, Rilnoth said. I don't want to wait anymore. The room fell silent. Everyone watched. This moment would be recorded in history. The first time a Veshkara had touched another intelligent being without causing death. Deho took a breath and stepped forward. He raised his right hand slowly, palm up. An invitation, not a demand. Rilnoth stared at the offered hand. The Veshkara's scales turned a deep blue, sadness mixed with longing. What if it doesn't work? Rilnoth whispered. What if I kill you? You won't, Deho said with certainty. I trust the science. I trust my body. I trust you. Rilnoth's scales shifted to that warm gold color, hope. The alien raised one hand slowly. It shook with fear and anticipation. I've never touched anyone, Rilnoth said. In my whole life. Not my parents. Not my friends. No one. I don't even know what it feels like. Then let's find out together, Deho said. Their hands moved closer, centimeters apart, then millimeters. The room held its breath. Their fingers touched. Rilnoth gasped. Deho smiled. Nothing happened. No alarms, no pain, no death. Just two people touching for the first time. I'm not dead, Deho said softly. You're not dead, Rilnoth repeated, wonder filling that voice. The Veshkara's scales exploded into colors Deho had never seen before. Bright golds and purples and greens all swirling together. Pure joy, slowly, carefully, their hands clasped together. Rilnoth made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. The alien's scales rippled with emotion. I can feel you, Rilnoth said. I can feel warmth. I can feel your pulse. I can feel life that I'm not ending. The medical bay erupted in cheers. Yuna and Nari were hugging. Minho had tears in his eyes. Even Commander Soman was smiling. Dr. Taewon nodded with satisfaction. Only Ambassador Thex remained unmoved. But even he couldn't deny what they were witnessing. Deho and Rilnoth stood together, hands clasped, both overwhelmed by the moment. It was such a simple thing. A handshake. Something humans did dozens of times a day without thinking. But for Rilnoth, it was everything. Thank you, Rilnoth whispered. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for being stubborn enough to try. That's what humans do best, Deho said with a grin. The celebration lasted for hours. But the real work was just beginning. News of the successful contact spread across the galaxy within days. The Veshkara government contacted the station immediately. They wanted to know everything. They wanted the treatment protocol. They wanted hope for their people. Deho, Yuna, and Nari wrote detailed reports. They documented every step of the process. They shared all their research freely with anyone who wanted it. This wasn't something to keep secret or sell. This was too important. Within a month, the first Veshkara delegation arrived at the station. 5 individuals, all volunteers, all desperate to experience what Rilnoth had experienced. Minho, Yunji, and Bora had all achieved full immunity by then. They helped train the Veshkara, supported them through the process. It's strange, Yunji said one day. She was working with a Veshkara named Kelth. helping them through their third treatment. We went through all this pain just to be able to shake hands. Something so simple. But for them, it's revolutionary. Sometimes the simple things matter most, Deho replied. The research expanded. Other species wanted to try the immunity treatment. It didn't work for everyone. Some species' biology was too different from humans, but many could develop at least partial immunity. Enough to make contact with Veshkara possible with proper precautions. 6 months after that first touch, Deho stood in a conference room with representatives from 50 different species. They were discussing the formation of a new organization, the Contact Initiative. Its purpose was to help isolated species integrate into galactic society, to find solutions for those who had been left alone because of biology or circumstance. Rilnoth stood beside him, no longer in isolation. The Veshkara wore normal clothes now, no protective suit, no barriers. Rilnoth had touched dozens of people, had felt rain, had walked on grass, had experienced all the simple joys that most beings took for granted. This is because of you, Rilnoth said quietly while the delegates argued about funding and logistics. This is because humans are too stubborn to accept that some problems can't be solved. Deho corrected. Is that what you call it? Stubbornness? We prefer the term determined, Deho said with a smile. Ambassador Thex approached them. The ambassador looked uncomfortable, which was becoming his permanent expression around Deho. Dr. Tay, he said stiffly, the council has asked me to formally apologize for my earlier opposition to your research. It seems I was wrong. You were protecting people, Deho said generously. That's your job. No apology needed. The ambassador nodded and walked away quickly, clearly relieved. Commander Soman joined them, carrying 3 cups of coffee. You started something big, she said, handing out the drinks. The Contact Initiative is going to change the galaxy. I just wanted to help one person, Deho said, looking at Rilnoth. You helped an entire species, Rilnoth corrected. The Veshkara are beginning the immunity treatments on our homeworld. Within a few years, we will be able to join the galactic community as equals. We will be able to touch and be touched, all because one human was too stubborn to give up. The conference continued around them. Plans were made, resources allocated, species were being contacted, isolated groups given hope. Deho thought about the first day he met Rilnoth, the warning, the fear, the laughter. He had laughed because he didn't understand. Now he laughed because he did. The galaxy was full of challenges, full of impossible problems, full of species that needed help. And humans, stubborn humans who had evolved on a death world and learned to survive anything, were perfectly suited to face those challenges. What are you thinking about? Rilnoth asked. I'm thinking about what to do next, Deho said. The Contact Initiative will need researchers. People willing to face impossible problems. Are you volunteering? Absolutely. Someone has to show the galaxy that humans are good for more than just surviving. We're good at helping others survive too. Rilnoth's scales shifted to that warm gold. Hope. It was a color Deho had learned to love. They stood together, watching the delegates plan the future. A human and a Veshkara side by side. Partners, friends, proof that no barrier was too great to overcome if someone was stubborn enough to try. Outside the window, stars glittered. Somewhere out there were more isolated species, more impossible problems, more people who thought they would be alone forever, but they wouldn't be. Not anymore, because humans had entered the galaxy and humans didn't give up. They didn't accept that some people couldn't be helped. They didn't back down from challenges just because they were hard. They laughed in the face of impossible odds and got to work. Deho raised his coffee cup. To stubbornness. Rilnoth touched their cup against his, scales shimmering with colors of joy. To stubborn humans who refused to let anyone be alone. Commander Somin smiled and joined the toast. To the future. They drank together, 3 friends from different worlds, united by the simple belief that no problem was truly impossible. It just took the right person, the right moment, and enough stubbornness to never give up. And if there was one thing humans had in abundance, it was stubbornness. The galaxy was about to learn that lesson very well.